Hi everyone, my name's Mr. Watson, and today I'm going to be giving you my top 5 tips for revising English literature. These are of course just my thoughts, but as an English teacher myself, I've seen that these methods and strategies have proven beneficial for students. So, starting with tip 5, identify your weaknesses. There's no sense in revising and practicing skills that you are already good at. To get those extra marks in the exam and improve your responses, you need to be able to fix where you're going wrong. Now, there are a few ways of identifying your weaknesses. You could look at feedback or targets that your teacher has given you. You could think about the last time you completed an exam and the specific areas that you found difficult or that you struggled with. And you could just ask your English teacher about what they think are the most important areas for you to focus on. Tip 4 is to create mind maps. I've always found mind maps to be brilliant tools for gathering information on a specific topic. If you're not familiar with them, you write the topic in the middle and then add different strands of information to it. It's a great way of organising large amounts of information into easily understandable categories. Bonus tip: if you use different colours for each section and write as little as possible, this seems to help with retention and recollection of that information, so maybe give it a go. Tip 3 is to use quotation cards. This is a common strategy for helping students to revise key quotations. Of course, the AQA GCSE Literature exams are closed book, meaning that you won't have copies of the full texts in the exam with you. So it's really important that you arrive at the exam prepared with a range of quotations in your memory. There are a number of different ways you can use these quotation cards, but my advice would be to write the quotation on one side, who said it and the chapter or act that it's taken from, and then on the other side, write down your analysis of it, with information such as context, language or structural techniques, and the themes that the quotation links to. You can then give them to someone at home or a friend and ask them to test you on them. Tip 2 is to complete practice exam questions. Ultimately, you're revising to sit an exam, so there's no real substitute for sitting and completing an actual exam question or paper. There are many practice papers available online, but I'm sure that if you asked your English teacher, they would be able to find some for you or at least point you in the right direction. I would strongly recommend practicing these exam questions in exam conditions, so no phones or computers, no music, no talking to others, and only give yourself the amount of time that you would have in the real exam. This will help you write a response under some of the pressures of the real thing, so what you produce will be a more accurate and realistic reflection of what you can do in that time. Then you can take this response and use it as a starting point for further revision. Now, before we get on to my top tip for revising English literature, here's an honorary mention. QuoteMaster is a free English literature revision app that was created by this guy. Find key exam texts and complete quizzes that are made up of randomly selected questions specifically related to the quotations in those texts. Then, once you've finished, you can review your results, clearly being able to identify the answers you got correct and where you went wrong. You can also win badges and trophies to store in your trophy room. You can even revise with your friends. Who says unsinkable absolutely unsinkable? Don't know, mate. Sorry. It's alright, mate. Don't worry. Nice one. People have even described it as the greatest app ever invented. It's the greatest app ever created. No, really. Thank you. Really,
Thank you
it
very
is.
much.
It's the greatest
See?
app ever. Like, there's nothing better out there,
Okay.
anywhere.
Okay, you can go now.
Okay,
Thank
nice
you.
one.
Okay.
So, download QuoteMaster for free right now from the Apple App Store for iPhones and iPads or the Google Play Store for Androids. Okay, and finally, my top tip for helping you to revise for literature is repetition. The only way that it's going to make any difference whatsoever in your exams is if you do it regularly. You are more likely to remember things if you see or do them over and over again, whether that's reading quotations or practicing exam questions. The more you do it, the more you'll remember. Don't believe me? Think about why you tend to remember the choruses to songs before you remember the verses. It's because the choruses are usually repeated 3 or 4 times during a song, whereas the verses are all different. If you found any other methods of revising that you found useful that I haven't mentioned in this video, please feel free to leave it in the comments below so that others may be able to benefit from your discoveries. But from me, that's all for this one. If you found this video helpful, then I'd appreciate a like, and whilst you're here, feel free to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, as always, and I hope to see you next time.